The Urantia book. The Urantia book. In paper 127, 127, the adolescent years of Jesus of Nazareth. Slowly but certainly, and by actual experience, this divine son, I too am a divine son, but this divine son is earning the right to become sovereign of his universe. The unquestioned and supreme ruler of all created intelligences on all local universe worlds. The understanding refuge of the beings of all ages and of all degrees of personal endowment and experience. So that's a very good sentence here in the Urantia book. So what they're saying here is Michael of Nebadon, the creator, maker, ruler of this local universe of Nebadon, one of 100,000 local universes in a super universe, 7 super universes in total. But the ruler, maker, creator of this local universe, the name given to him in the Urantia book is Michael of Nebadon. And so he bestowed himself on this world as Jesus of Nazareth in the Urantia book. These are all stories and beliefs, ideas, beliefs, truth from the Urantia book. So he had to, Michael of Nebadon, any local universe creator, ruler, has to live 7 bestowals amongst the beings of his own making. So that includes the higher sons of a local universe like Melchizedek's, and the lower sons of the local universe like Seraphim and angels, Seraphim, and human evolutionary will beings, such as you, me, any human evolutionary will being on this planet, Urantia, for example. 10 million total inhabited planets eventually in Nebadon, similar to Urantia in terms of having human evolutionary will beings on them. So Michael of Nebadon lived his seventh bestowal amongst the beings of his own making, as Jesus of Nazareth here on Urantia. So after his 7th bestowal, he became sovereign of his universe of Nebadon, and he was not prior to. And the only thing this really means, there's a line in the Urantia book, like, if there's no rebellion in a universe, no system rebellion, which pretty much means no rebellion. It's sort of almost the same thing at that level. But so if there's no rebellion in a local universe, meaning a system sovereign goes astray. So the Urantia book gets into this topic about Lucifer, the system sovereign. The name they give him is Lucifer. His first assistant is Satan, the spiritual ruler of this world at the time of the Lucifer rebellion was Caligastia. That's the name they give him in the Urantia book. This all occurred about 200,000 years ago. The Bible has whatever information it has about this thing, this rebellion of these higher spirit beings, these higher spirit angels. There's other Christian literature. There's conventional literature that has ideas and beliefs about spirit rulers from the past going into rebellion against God. Whatever human evolutionary information is available in terms of evolutionary literature is what it is. The Urantia book gives its take on it. So so if there's no rebellion in a universe, and they say this, there's a line in the Urantia book, like, if there's no rebellion in a universe, meaning a system sovereign is in charge of, in potential, eventually, 1,000 1,000 evolutionary spheres, human evolutionary will-being planets similar to Urantia, 1,000 eventually in any given system. That's a Latin Son. A Latin Son is the name they're given in the Urantia book. They are the system sovereigns. So 1,000 worlds in a system, 100 systems in a constellation, and 100 constellations in a local universe. So many planets, many planets. Anyway, if there's no rebellion in a local universe, a system sovereign doesn't go into rebellion against the rule of Michael of Nebanon, then you would hardly notice the difference between being sovereign and not being sovereign for the for the Michael Son, the creator, maker, ruler of any given local universe. For the Michael Son, for the creator Son, you would hardly notice the difference between being a sovereign and not being a sovereign, except if there is a system rebellion. So that happened in this local universe. So they're implying that some local universes, there's 100,000. There's 100,000 local universes per super universe, and 7 super universes in the evolutionary creation currently. And they're implying that in some universes, system sovereigns do not go astray, so they lose none of the system sovereigns, but probably most, quite frankly, out of 100,000. They say in this local universe of Nebanon has had the second most Latin sons go into rebellion, whether they're system sovereigns or secondary Latin meaning planetary prince rulers such as Caligastia was here on Urantia, or tertiary Latin they assist the first 2 orders, I suppose. They describe them in the Urantia book, but this universe has had the second most number of Latin go into rebellion rebellion against the rule of Michael of Nebanon. So what they're talking about in that one sentence is after Michael's 7th bestowal amongst the creatures of his own making as the human evolutionary will being Jesus of Nazareth. After his death, crucifixion, death, and resurrection, after that, then he's completed his 7th bestowal amongst the creatures of his own making as a human evolutionary will being Jesus of Nazareth. So, lovely sentence. There's a lot of lovely sentences in the Urantia book. They all are. Every single sentence in this book is inspirational. But I too am a divine son. So it says this divine son. So it's being general in that sense, in this sentence, in this paragraph. So me as a divine son, this divine son is earning the right to be myself as a divine son of God, as a magisterial avonal son. This too is described in the Urantia book. Me as a magisterial avonal son, currently on a bestowal mission here on Urantia. Yes, that's what I'm doing right now as I speak. So I am a male child born of woman. So I am a magisterial avonal son on a bestowal mission here on Urantia. All these things are discussed in the Urantia book about the magisterial avonals, such as myself. The 16th year, AD 10. AD 10. So Jesus was born in AD 7, according to the Urantia book, the 16th year. The incarnated son passed through infancy and experienced an uneventful childhood. Then he emerged from that testing and trying transition stage between childhood and young manhood. He became the adolescent Jesus. Uneventful childhood. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, they fully explain the entire history of Jesus of Nazareth in this book. So uneventful in the sense of ordinary. And I remember, I think prior to this, Jesus fell from the stairs as he was walking up the stairs, and Joseph made a baluster or whatever they're called, handrail, whatever. And the seraphim on charge was not blamed with any fault. It was just a wind came out of nowhere and blew Jesus off the stairs as he was walking up the stairs of his little home in Nazareth. Uneventful in the sense of ordinary, but many events. They describe many events that Jesus had in his, from 5, 6, 7, 8 on, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, they describe many events about what was going on in his life, where he was going, what he was doing, who he was with, what were the possibilities going on in his life at that time as a young boy. There's a line in the Urantia book. Another line, like Jesus lived his life as the Paradise Father, the first person of the Trinity, the Universal Father, always does everything in the ordinary way. So the Universal Father, as the first person of the Trinity, does things in the ordinary way, the habits of God. There's lines like that in the book describing that type of thing. There's another line in the book, Paradise of Onals, such as myself, and Creator's sons, Michael's sons, such as Jesus of Nazareth, Michael of Nebanon as Jesus of Nazareth. In the Urantia book, it says, we live ordinary lives until our public missions. Until we start on our public missions, we live ordinary lives. So I currently, as a magisterial Immanuel son on a bestowal mission, am living an ordinary life. But soon in my lifetime, I will start my public mission. But in the meantime, I must live an ordinary life for my own experiential gains. As a magisterial Immanuel son, there's a line in the book that says they want to make magisterial Immanuel sons, such as myself, a safe and sympathetic adjudicators, something like that. Safe and sympathetic adjudicators. So I live a human evolutionary life now, currently. There's a big, long story to that as far as other bestowals that I would do or other magisterial Immanuels would do. But by the living of this human life, by my living this human life, this ordinary human life so far, I just gain ordinary human experience and become a safe and sympathetic adjudicator in terms of the adjudication that does take place for all beings at all levels. It's a big, long process and discussion in the Urantia book about what that really means. But you do not have to go on for eternity. I do not have to go on for eternity. No one has to go on for eternity. So there's a process to that in terms of judgment, in terms of there is no hell. There is no hell. But you can be as if you had not been. The quote in the Urantia book is the common term in common human evolutionary literature that Urantia has, this planet has, common literature. There's a quote somewhere in there about to be as if you had not been. So I think in human literature, I think that quote somewhere, but the Urantia book definitely uses it. They use a quote to be as if you had not been. So you can be eliminated, exterminated, extinguished, abolished, whatever term you want to use for it, as a being. You no longer have to go on as a being. You don't have to. So there's a process to that. So I'm involved with that as a magisterial Immanuel son. I am involved with that process for beings, and my living this ordinary human life right now just gives me, makes me more safe and sympathetic in terms of the human evolutionary will beings. You, me, any human evolutionary will being. Anyway. So I am an incarnated son, as a magisterial Immanuel son, currently on a bestowal mission here on Urantia, and I have passed through infancy. I am currently an adult. I was an adolescent. The 16th year, AD 10, paper 127. Henceforth, Nazareth maintained a division of sentiment regarding the Son of Man. There was some kind of squabble in Nazareth there about would Jesus, I don't know. I don't even know what it's about. Yeah, something about would he lead the nationalists? Would Jesus lead the nationalists in a, I don't know, warlike something? And Jesus, turned it down. So this was like his 17th year. So Nazareth had divided sentiments about this. Anyway, gradually he had brought his divine and human natures together, and he accomplished all this organization of intellect by the force of his own decisions and with only the aid of his indwelling monitor, just such a monitor as all normal mortals on all post-bestowal-Son worlds have within their minds. Well, that's an important sentence. That's an important sentence and an important idea. There's a lot in that sentence, actually. So Michael of Nebanon, as Jesus of Nazareth, is bringing together his divine and human natures. He's we, you, I, any human evolutionary will being, yourself, myself as a magisterial eventful son currently on a bestowal mission here on Urantia, me, you, any human evolutionary will being is bringing together you yourself, I myself, and bringing together the thought adjuster. The thought adjuster is the spirit of God within me, you, any human evolutionary will being of normal mind, as it says in this sentence. Mystery monitor is another name given to the thought adjuster, the spirit of God within man, the spirit of God within the mind of man. I have one, you have one, everybody, every normal-minded human being on this earth has one. Same for all the other planets in the evolutionary creation of human evolutionary will beings. I, you, anyone is bringing together that divine nature, the spirit of God within me, your spirit of God within you, bringing together that nature and what's not that nature, or incorrect human nature, however you want to put it, bringing those two things together by the force of his own decision. So we all do this every moment, every decision, the force of our own decisions for ourselves in terms of making ourselves perfect in the eyes of God, making ourselves perfect as God would have us be perfect in terms of character, love, goodness, understanding, empathy, sympathy, meekness, strength, lucidity, awareness, vitality, but calmness and humbleness, all that. That's what character is. And that's the goal. And so for anyone. And so we all do this by the force of our own decisions. It's important to know. Force of our own decisions and the aid of the indwelling monitor, the thought adjuster, the spirit of God within us. So all human evolutionary will beings on this planet of normal mind have a thought adjuster, the spirit of God within them. This is a post-bestowal-Son world, as Michael of Nebanon lived his life as Jesus of Nazareth on this world in a bestowal mission. That's what makes this a post-bestowal-Son world currently. After Pentecost, they say in the Urantia book, after Pentecost, thought adjusters came to this world for every single human evolutionary will being of normal mind. Prior to Pentecost, prior to the life of a bestowal-Son on this sphere, Jesus of Nazareth is a bestowal-Son on this sphere of Urantia. Prior to that, thought adjusters, the spirit of God, did not come to every single human evolutionary will being of normal mind. Why? I don't know exactly. They don't really get into that in the Urantia book. Some kind of love relationship between the creator son, Michael of Nebanon, and his children on Earth of Urantia or any other evolutionary human will being planet in his universe. A love relationship growth of some kind where thought adjusters don't go, and God the Father, the first person of the Trinity, of course, but there's some kind of relationship between all of us humans, the Creator Son, the Universal Father. There's some kind of love relationship where thought adjusters don't come to every single human evolutionary will being of normal mind prior to a bestowal of a either a Creator Son or a magisterial bonal Son. The Creator Son only does it once in his entire career, one planet, one time. This was the planet he did it on, lived his life on, as Jesus of Nazareth. The magisterial bonals go to the other 9,999,999 potentially, eventually created worlds of human evolutionary will-being, similar to Urantia. They go to those other ones, like me. Like prior to this lifetime, I did. After this lifetime, I will. Again, this world is getting 2 bestowals. I'm the second bestowal on this sphere of Urantia. So after my life in the flesh, it will continue to be a post-bestowal world because it's already a post-bestowal world. A double bestowal on Urantia. Yay. Anyway. So this is a post-bestowal-Son world, and after my life in the flesh as a magisterial avonal Son, it will continue to be a post-bestowal-Son world. Post-bestowal-Son's world. Post-bestowal-Son's world. Yeah, why not? Post-bestowal-Son's world. The 18th year, AD 12. Well, here's a little line. The more Mary and Elizabeth talked about their sons, the more they became convinced that it would be good for the 2 young men to work together and see more of each other. So, what do I say? 18th year. This is concerning John the Baptist and Jesus of Nazareth. So there's a lot of information in here about John the Baptist that's not in the Bible. They were cousins, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of interaction between John the Baptist and Jesus of Nazareth prior to his baptism, as recorded in the Bible and other Christian literature. There's a lot of information in here about what they did together. Actually, quite frankly, I remember a line in here, something about at some point, Jesus of Nazareth saw John the Baptist, say late teens, and then they decided that they would not see each other again until late teens, early 20s. I don't know, something like that. But they decided the decision was made one way or another that Jesus would not get together with John the Baptist again until a future time, alluding to the baptism. I don't know. I think there's some kind of sense about that in the Urantia book. But whatever it is, it's in the Urantia book as far as the information goes. The 19th year, AD 13. Here's a real term. Here's a real sentence about the real life of Jesus of Nazareth. By this time, Jesus and Mary were getting along much better. So they weren't prior for whatever reasons. Mary wanted him to do the military type leader thing. Jesus didn't, so there was friction along those lines, maybe, or whatever it was. But anyway, she regarded him less as a son. He had become to her more a father to her children. There's a real term sense, a real life sentence. Jesus being a father to his brothers and sisters. I mean, that's obvious. Michael of Nebadon is the father of a universe, father, maker, ruler of a local universe. Michael of Nebadon, a creation, a child born of the first 2 persons of the Trinity, the universal Father and the eternal Son. Michael of Nebadon as Jesus of Nazareth, the father of a local universe. His father died early in his life, 13-ish, and then he raised his brothers and sisters as a father for his personal experience, as a sympathetic sovereign, or however they describe it. There's some terms in there about why Jesus is living this life as a universe creator, in terms of being empathetic with his human evolutionary will beings, such as you, me, any human evolutionary will being sympathetic with them. So what better course to take than having his father die when he's like 13, and then raising his 6, 7 brothers and sisters, however many he had. It's in the Urantia book. Real life. Oh, Rebecca, the daughter of Ezra. This is a good one. Basically, this is very interesting, actually. So Jesus is 19, something like that. Rebecca, a lovely maiden in his village of Nazareth. They say something like Miriam, Jesus' sister, was maybe the belle, Belle, of the village of Nazareth. And Rebecca was almost as pretty. They say something like that. So, and Rebecca went to Jesus of Nazareth to propose marriage, quite frankly. And Jesus turned her down. But the whole thing is very lovingly written in terms of how it all went. Jesus goes to the home of Rebecca, and her father and mother are there. And Jesus says something to the father about taking care of his brothers and sisters, whatever. The story is lovely. It is. So, but Jesus just turned it down, and that was pretty much it. But that was the one time where Jesus might have married, but it did not happen. I mean, that's an important point. So like Jesus, like when he was traveling with this is later in his life, like 28, he's traveling with Ganid and Ganid in the Urantia book, this story about he's traveling with these two Indian men, a father and his son, and they go to Rome because the father was a big time merchant of some kind, and the father had business with the emperor in Rome, and they met the emperor, Tiberius, I suppose, right? Probably. And so, also with somebody else, but anyway, Jesus met the emperor of Rome. I think it was the second or the third one. I think it was the second one after Caesar, I think. And then Jesus meets the emperor of Rome. And after Jesus leaves the court, whatever, the emperor goes, "Oh, I would be a real king if I was like that guy," something like that. So whatever Jesus said, it made an impression. Same thing here. Jesus meets the father of Rebecca. And after Jesus talks to him, the father says to his wife, "We can't have him for a son. He is too noble for us." So whatever Jesus said, it came across as that to that man. They do this. They say this more than once about the impressions Jesus makes on people. A quote from Jesus of Nazareth. "If I am a son of destiny, I must not assume obligations of lifelong duration until such a time as my destiny shall be made manifest," in his 19th year. So he said that to Rebecca, amongst other things, I think. He said it to Rebecca. So I, too, am a son of destiny. As a magisterial avonal son, sooner or later in my lifetime, I will do my public mission as a magisterial avonal son. Currently, I am in my ordinary life, as described in the Urantia book. Oh, my. So, yes. So to finish Rebecca here, this is sort of important. It's not important, but it's interesting. At the foot of the cross, Rebecca was there. Rebecca, Mary, John, and I think one of Mary's sisters, but not Elizabeth. There were 4 people there. Rebecca was there. And so as they are there, and Rebecca never married up until the time of Jesus's crucifixion and death, at least. They don't really say much about her afterwards, but up until that time. Anyway, but I don't know. But anyway, so as the Son of Man hung upon the cross, to her, Rebecca, as well as to countless worlds on high, quote, the one altogether lovely and the greatest among 10,000. So that's pretty much the goal for anyone, you, me, any human being as an evolutionary will being. The goal really is to have the character in terms of goodness of being looked upon by others as a greatest among 10,000. Like his character is so stellar, he's looked upon by because you can't really do better than that. I mean, all you can do is character. And who's to say one great character in terms of true goodness is better than another character of true goodness? So the best you can do along those lines, on an immature planet such as this, I mean, if everybody was that, if it was a world of light and life where everybody had the same stellar character in terms of goodness, then nobody would be the greatest among 10,000. However, amongst immature beings such as Urantia currently, some people can stand out in terms of their truly moral character. So Jesus stood out. So he stood out as the one altogether lovely and greatest among 10,000. So I, as a magisterial son, will stand out as one altogether lovely, me, and the greatest among 10,000 immature beings. However you want to put it. I mean, bah.